This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Vayazed Yaakov Nazir. Yaakov was stirring a porridge. He was cooking a soup. Says Rashi, what was he cooking? Perish Rashi, Adoshim Adumaisaya. Red beans. Now certainly we know that it was red because Esav called it red. Haliteni nam in ha'adam ha'adam hazeh. But how does Rashi know they were beans? Doesn't say in the pasuk it was beans. Vayazed doesn't mean beans. How does Rashi know it was beans? And lamay nafkamina, for pshat in the pasuk, that it was beans. I mean, Rashi is not a darshan. Rashi famously says, "Ani loy basi ela l'pshuto shel mikra." So why? First of all, how does Rashi know? And secondly, why did Rashi see fit to tell it to us? Says the Shela Kadosh something very deep. Says the Shela that isn't it odd that what do we call Esav? We call him Edom. Why? Because he said Haliteni na min ha'adam hazeh. Just because he called the beans red, therefore we need to change his name. Imagine if somebody said, pass the bread. Now we're going to call him bread. Pass the Pepsi. Now his new name is Pepsi. Pass the water. Now his new name is water. So Esav said, pass the red stuff. So why change his name? Says the Shela Kadosh. Esav was being very deceiving. Esav knew quite well that it was beans, because he knew there was an avelos taking place. But isn't it quite embarrassing that Esav spent the day in the field running after his taiva? The Gemara Bava Basra says on Tezayin Amud Beis, he violated 5 averos that day. He lived with the Nara Murasa. I mean, on the day that Avram Avinu passes away and Esav is doing all of this? So for him to come back and say, oh yeah, let me have some of that avelos food. I mean, that would be quite embarrassing that he spent the day indulging in his taiva and sort of skipping the avelos. So he tricked everyone. And he said, hey, what's that red stuff? Esav knew it was beans, but he couldn't embarrass himself to let the people know that he knew they were avelos. So as a cover-up, he said, pass me some of that red stuff, as if he didn't even know what it was. But when the people realized that this is just a great cover-up of Esav, this is Esav trying to make it look like he didn't realize we were avelos, but he knew full well that these were beans. Therefore, they labeled him Edom, meaning, and I would interpret it, that this is the root of all of Esav's wickedness, a lack of honesty. He's deceptive. He tries to trick everyone. He makes himself seem better than he is. Rashi says that they were beans because otherwise, why in the world would we call Esav Edom just because he called this item red? It must be he called it red. This is an epic moment in the life of Esav. The fact that he called it red and didn't call it what it was, it means he was trying to hide something that he knew that he didn't want others to know that he knew. And this actually encapsulated and summed up the essence of Esav. So Rashi sees in that, if we're calling him red, that means that this food item was a very important food item, and Esav must be tricking everyone, and therefore Rashi is megala to us as a pshat in the pasuk that it must be that this food was adoshim, this food was beans. Okay, wishing everyone a wonderful Shabbos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.